Hello, this is Over and Over and Over Again. We're live, and this is the Burnley versus Arsenal pre-match warm-up show. Hello, my name's Richard. Welcome back to my show, channel Over and Over and Over Again, a positive Arsenal channel. Tonight, this is the Burnley versus Arsenal pre-match warm-up show, and I've got some great guests will be coming on and joining me in a minute. Just before I bring them on, obviously this show's currently going out live. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it's on Twitter. It's also going to go out on Spotify as well, which will probably be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow. So if you're listening to that on there as well, welcome to the show. So also as well, to make sure, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please come over to YouTube and click on the subscribe button, give this a like as well, and it does help the channel to grow. So without further ado, I will get the guests involved as we look ahead to tomorrow's big Premier League game, big game for both clubs actually, and maybe for different reasons as we'll get into, I'm sure. First of all, coming back onto the show, he's our resident panelist. He's here every single day. It's almost like he's growing roots in the channel. It's Melvin. How you doing, Melvin? You all right?
Yeah, good evening, thanks. Yeah, fine.
Good to have
small tonight, isn't it, Richard? Normally there's only one person from the other team, but we've got two tonight.
Yes, so, we've been surrounded tonight, so it's going to be good. And first of all, representing Burnley, we've got he's been on before actually. He was on the previous time that we played Burnley back in December. It's Dan from the cricket field end. How you doing, mate? You all right?
How's it going, guys? You all right?
Yeah, very well. Good to have you back.
Oh, pleasure to be back.
Yeah, so we enjoyed the show last time, so I thought we'd get you back on again and see how things have been in the meantime. And also as well, we've got another Burnley fan coming on tonight as well. It's his first time on the channel, and it's Joe from the Turf Cast podcast. I need to get that right. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of them, isn't it? It don't exactly roll off the tongue. I'm fully aware of that. When I did that at the time, when I created the channel, I was just like, well, we play at Turf Moor. It's a podcast, Turfcast, that'll do. Whereas now I'm just like, right, that's a bit of a rubbish name, that. Everyone seems to trip over it. So, but yeah, that's it. And thanks for having me, boys.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to, obviously we can look ahead to tomorrow's big game. So that's the panel. And this is the Burnley versus Arsenal pre-match warm-up. So, just really wanted to start before we get into all the other bits and bobs. Really, just looking at the current form of both clubs. Now, Arsenal have been pretty inconsistent most of the season, actually. And although we have won our last two games, of course, last week a really good victory at Leicester, of course, was your last opponents as well. We have been quite inconsistent, really. I've noticed from your recent results, especially at home, you've got a lot of draws, haven't you? I mean, if I come to you first then, Joe, what are you making of your kind of current form? Because you're not losing that many, but you're not winning enough, are you, either?
Yeah, it's a little bit indifferent, to be honest. I'm more falling on the side of, I don't know, I wouldn't say negative a feeling about it, but the Leicester draw sort of like has brought us back up a little bit recently. The home draws against Fulham and West Brom just weren't good enough, and not in just terms of the results. I know a few Burnley fans will just probably go down the route of, we didn't get beat, that's the important thing. But Burnley of last season and the season before would have used them two games as an opportunity to pull away from the relegation fight and ended up finishing in the top half of the table like we have done for 2 out of the last 3 seasons. So it was disappointing not to win them 2 games, and the performance, especially against a 10-man West Brom, was diabolical. But the Leicester game showed a lot of signs of encouragement. Sorry for swearing, but the Spurs game didn't show a lot of signs of encouragement. Obviously, we got absolutely murdered down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So yeah, the Leicester game has maybe start to swing the mood back up a little bit. But yeah, the main feeling from the last few games has been one of negative, really. But since the Crystal Palace game, when we were fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, are you kind of feeling the same, Dan, about the way you've been playing in the last sort of maybe sort of 5 or 6 games, really? Because there's not been many wins there, has there?
No, I'm definitely with Joe on what he said. Like I say, the West Brom game, going back to that game alone, I said at the end of that game I wasn't happy with the point. Everyone was saying that West Brom would have been more happy with the point. Looking at it, I don't think they would have done. I think they'd have been more than happy to take the all three. The opportunity was there for them to take all three. It was a disappointing point. In the end, I was kind of more happy that we did grab the point, because at 10 men they seem stronger, and you can't sometimes rest on your laurels against a Sam Allardyce side. I mean, sometimes with 10 men they're a lot stronger. They're a lot more bullish. They come forward. Just our all-round game was shocking, weren't it, Joe? I mean, I had a listen on your watch along, and I think it's probably the podcast probably with the most expletives I've probably ever watched.
Yeah, we do swear quite a bit on our watch along. It's watch along. I try not to swear so much on the podcast. I don't know what obviously the boys on this channel will sort of like say with expletives and stuff. But watch alongs, I think as long as you don't say the C word, I'm not too bothered. But when you're on the turf, or obviously when you're on the Emirates in Rich and Melvin's example, you're shouting and you're screaming anyway and you're swearing, so it's just a similar sort of vibe. But the stat that stands out for me from that West Brom game is West Brom had conceded the most shots on target in the entire Premier League season. We didn't have one shot on target against a 10-man West Brom side. It just wasn't good enough. Just wasn't good enough at all. So that just tells you how bad that performance was. But yeah, positive Arsenal channel. Let's have a bit of positive Burnley chat. The Leicester game, we look much better.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch a bit of the Leicester game, obviously, ahead of the fact that we were playing you guys at the weekend, just to kind of get a feel of how you're playing, really. The one thing I did want to ask you about, actually, was Ashley Barnes, because he hasn't been playing. Is he injured? I hope he is, because he always scores against us.
Yeah, he's injured, unfortunately, at the minute. But Chris Wood's back, and he is injured at the minute. Is a tear on his muscle or a muscle strain? I'm not sure exactly what it is. Burnley play the cards very close to the chest when it comes to injuries. Sean Dyche has like a key. There's like back on the grass, touch and go, on the treatment table, and the one even before that is what Ashley Barnes is currently on, where he just pretends he doesn't exist. At the minute, we're just not finding out anything about Ashley Barnes. So I don't really know what's up with him, but I've heard some rumours that it might be pretty bad, but I'm just trying to dig into them rumours at the minute before I say anything on any channel, really. But I've heard it might be pretty bad, but he's definitely not playing against Arsenal anyway, so you could be happy with that.
Yeah, I say he's the one player that you look at the Burnley team sheet and you don't want him to be on it, because he's caused us a lot of problems in the last few seasons, actually, which hasn't been too good. I mean, Melvin, what have you been making of our kind of recent form? I know the last two games have been exciting and good form, but I think we've been quite up and down, haven't we? Quite inconsistent.
We're consistently inconsistent, haven't we? I mean, you don't know what we're going to play like from 1 minute to the next. I mean, normally after 5 minutes, you can tell whether we should get a newspaper out, start reading it, or actually bother to watch the game. It's so much like that. And I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is. It doesn't matter if we're playing a team at the top of the division or near the bottom or whatever. It just seems to be what mood we start with. And sometimes our concentration is so bad, we lose a goal in the first few minutes. And then normally, not like last week, normally game over. And we're not even chasing the game for 90 minutes. We don't get near the other team's penalty box for 90 minutes, which is really frustrating. You know, any team against even Man City, if they're getting beat, we'll have a go. We didn't. We put the white flag up. We're getting beat 1-0. Well, that's all right. What's on telly tonight? One of those felt like that, you know. And it was really, really disappointing. And we've been like that all season. And yet we turn up like Chelsea, Leicester, those type of games. We've been absolutely terrific. Southampton away, you know, Southampton can blow hot and cold, I know. But we played them when they were playing decent football, when they were doing well. And we just really, really tore them one. So we'll have to see. Well, first of all, we get our normal thing, look at the team sheet and go, what the hell is all that about? But then last week, he proved me wrong, and he proved a lot of us wrong.
Yeah, he did. So he did.
Over that bump, then hopefully we'll get over the first 5 minute bump.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the last week and I was absolutely raging, thinking, why on earth has he picked this team when it hasn't worked in previous games? But to be fair, you're right. He proved us all wrong. The players stepped up last week and played really well. I know Leicester have got a few injuries and whatnot, but it was a good performance from Arsenal. I mean, I just really want to know what you guys are making of it. I know the relegation battle really hotting up sort of just below you, really, isn't it? You're not quite out of it yet, are you? I mean, what are you thinking in terms of your chances of getting sucked into that still? Because I mean, you're not that far away, are you?
Personally, I think we'll be all right. I don't know if Dan wants to take the lead on this one, but that's my personal opinion. I think we'll be all right.
I've always been. This season's been probably the most scariest season as a Burnley fan in regards to Premier League stature and whether we've managed to keep hold of it. I think obviously you look at the beginning of the season, the lack of investment. That's got to be some sort of input. Then there was all the rumours of whether there's going to be a takeover, whether it was going to happen, whether it wasn't. Then the riffraff between Sean Darch and Matt Garlick. Nobody knew kind of the ins and outs. But in the gist of it all, you kind of could see that half of what was going on backstage was having some sort of effect on the pitch. Or you'd like to think that was the problem, and it wasn't just a case of players not wanting to play for the club because due to the form. But it's typical Burnley, like you say. We come on and we'll grind that 1-1 result out against Leicester, but then we'll do absolute dog crap against teams like West Brom, and it just makes you think we're so hit and miss. We're almost like a bit of a Crystal Palace this year, where we sort of 1 minute we're going to turn up, and the next minute we just don't bother. Like you say, we have got the smallest squad in the Premier League. We have been hit with injuries, but I remain optimistic. I'm like Joe. I remain optimistic, but it's kind of quiet optimism for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Well, obviously, when we played you guys before, it was in December, wasn't it? Beginning of December, and you had been struggling actually in the league due to your injuries, like you said. And you did have quite a poor start to the season, but obviously you did win that game at the Emirates before, and since then, I think the results for you guys have picked up, haven't they? Since then, and I know you've got a few players back from injury as well, which has probably helped. But yeah, not having a big squad. I mean, what you're making up? Obviously, that takeover's happened now, hasn't it? I mean, what are your thoughts on that for the future of the club? Do you think that's going to be a good thing, and it's going to be you're going to be able to move forward, or are you a bit worried about that?
It's one of them with this. You can go down both routes, really. There's sort of like there's a section of the fan base that is adamant that we're going to do a Portsmouth and a Bolton and go all the way through the leagues. They're based on that and absolutely nothing, to be fair. But it's just, it's just typical. But there's another portion of the fan base that thinks we're going to sign Mbappe, obviously. Not realistically, but you know what I mean? They think they're going to throw a lot of money at it. But for me, I've seen nothing yet to suggest that Alan Pace, who is a new chairman, is here to asset strip, as some people have accused him of. There's been no evidence as to why we can't trust him. He's come in, he's been open, he's been honest. And then he's been criticised for being open and honest. But yeah, the problem with the old chairman was that he wouldn't talk to us. He wouldn't tell us anything. He'd send out the CEO to tell a load of lies who's been, let go in the last week under the new chairman. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. One of my biggest things, my biggest traps at Burnley Football Club is we don't market ourselves properly, in my opinion. I'm
100%
proud that
agree with that, Joe. 100% agree with that.
I'm proud that we're a small town club, and I like the fact that they put the local fans first, but we kind of become this like League of Gentlemen local club for local people sort of thing, and they don't do too much to expand the name of Burnley Football Club and expand the brand. So many things that obviously Dan will be aware of that I mentioned on the podcast literally every week because it annoys me that much is going behind a paywall. I understand that some clubs do it, but it's normally like your Championship clubs and your League One clubs. Like if you're streaming stuff, put it out there for free for everybody to see. Because say like if we're streaming, an under-23s game against Arsenal, for example, you're going to get the Arsenal fans watching it, or you're going to get like American fans, especially when we have a new takeover and things like that. Like we did the press conference live, his press conference behind a paywall, of course. And it's just not going to get the name of the club out. But that's just one thing in many things. But he spoke a lot about getting the name of the club out and things like that in a more positive way and expanding the brand of Burnley Football Club. And that's one of the things that I like to see. But yeah, I think the immediate thing is that everybody will judge him on is whether or not he spends money on the players, because right now we need it. The average age of the squad is getting older. We found out tonight that Phil Bardsley's staying at the club for another year, thanks to his wife announcing it on Instagram.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It takes something when the club haven't announced it. His missus has put that he's signed a 1-year extension.
It's like the same with the launch of the kits every single year. It'll come out and it'll be shown out on someone's kitchen table who's nicked it from the club shop, or they hung it up in a council estate flat or whatever. No disrespect to council estate flat, but it's always the case. It's always a terrible picture on a rubbish Grammy coat hanger with loads of rubbish, and everyone's like, "Oh, that kit's rubbish," and then the club will release nice images of it. It's like, just do that in the first place. Can you not do something where you just Like, I worked for a bit at Bradford City Football Club, so I have worked on a kit launch. I see how these things happen. You run a tight ship. You make sure that nobody can take pictures. You make sure that nobody can get in and out of here with a kit and things like that. And there's just some stuff that the club just do wrong. So I'm expecting the new chairman to come in with a positive, different mindset of stuff like that, and hopefully stop stuff like that happening, and just stop like these little tin potty things happening to Burnley like that, and expand the brand of the football club. It will be difficult, of course, because we are a small football club, but he wants to go down the route. The new chairman wants to go down the route of everyone's favourite underdog. So it's a way in, I guess, but at least it's a sign that is looking to expand the name of Burnley Football Club, and that's what we want to see, definitely.
I don't think there's anything as well that's kind of been said by the chairman that you can't look at and kind of criticise either. I think what he's come out and said has been very positive.
Yeah.
It's always been quite a good outlook. He has, like Joe's touched on, he does want to get that brand out there. But you can also see that he wants to work behind the scenes via the youth system and try and work on that. And, so he has got his fingers in a few pies, so to speak. But like you say, the proof's in the pudding with a big pre-season next season.
I mean, I think most fans are the most important thing to most fans, isn't it? Is how much the owners are going to invest in the playing side of the club. Yeah. We've got the same problem, we Melvin, at Arsenal, where our owner doesn't tend to put his hand in his pocket for the playing side very much at all, really. And yes, we've bought players and what have you, but most Arsenal fans feel the same about our owner, really, that they're maybe not doing enough to get us, to invest in the team enough that we need to progress as a club and move forward, which, for a club like Arsenal is really important anyway. I mean, it's odd that you say that about, that you want to try to become a bigger, reach out to a bigger audience, if you like, which is quite interesting, because we've kind of reached out to a bigger audience since we moved stadium. And I wish we could go back to when we were maybe slightly smaller in a sense. Because being like a community club, if you like, I know we're in London and that's not ever been the case for Arsenal, but being on a smaller scale for me would be a lot better. So you just get your hardcore fans coming to watch the game, the atmosphere is better, and all that kind of stuff. And I think for Burnley, I mean, every time I've been to Burnley, I mean, Ben's put a comment in the chat there. He said he needs Burnley in the Premier League. It's always a good away trip. And he misses a spell of deep heat in the tight concourse. Yeah, I mean, it's the away end is a bit of a throwback in many ways to sort of old stadium stuff, which I quite like anyway. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like that kind of small club feel about Burnley. Actually, I really enjoy that, and in a way, it's something that I kind of almost envy a little bit. I know it sounds strange because we're a big club and we've won league titles and all this kind of stuff, but there's a little part of me that actually quite likes that about Burnley. The fact that you are a small club and you've had relative success with what you've got, which is great, isn't it? And maybe reaching out to a bigger audience is maybe good in some ways, but I think it could also lead to some of the issues that maybe we've suffered from our fan base, maybe as well. It leads to more pressure, of course, as well, which is the other side of it, I guess. I'm not
comparing the two clubs, boys. No disrespect, seriously, but I feel the same way. Where I live. And it's not no disrespect. It's I live near Orient, right? And I go there. I've been there loads of times over the years, and I love it. It's so different. It's a different feel. You've got characters there. Everyone's a character. Everyone knows everyone. It seems. I know they don't, obviously, but you're nearer to the pitch. Number one, the atmosphere pro rata to how many people are there is much better, and you just get a whole feel like you're part of the whole. You're part of the game. You're not playing, obviously. You're part of the whole.
Exactly.
And we missed that at the Emirates more than Highbury. I know Highbury wasn't, like the Orient, but it was nearer the Orient than it is now. And I agree. I miss that. I do miss that.
I think that's what it's been missing with us, isn't it, Joe? I mean, like I say, we're missing that fan backing. I think we'd have had a lot more positive results with a fan base screaming, being that 12th man. I think having that in the stadium would have been vital to how we progressed this season and where we finished. I mean, at the beginning of the season, based on last season, I predicted us to finish 8th. I don't know why. I must have been drunk at the time. But, right now, I'd take where we are. But it's tomato, tomato. End of the day, I agree with what Melvin's saying. You feel so close to the pitch. You're almost like the manager in a way. No matter what you come out with, you kind of have a voice that people are listening to on that pitch.
Yeah.
it's mental, and it's those little moments you miss. I suppose that's why money does need to filter down to grassroots, and to the smaller clubs.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there's such a big gap, isn't there? And the gap's getting bigger and bigger all the time between the rich and the poor, if you like, when it comes to football. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any end to that. It's just going to get further and further apart. And I kind of, my local clubs, Dagenham and Redbridge, used to actually be in a football league for a bit, and it's that kind of you feel part of the club when you're there. When it used to be, as Melvin said, at Highbury with Arsenal, when I grew up, that's what it was like at Arsenal. And now you're not part of anything at all. They don't care. The club don't care about the fans, and I still feel as though Burnley maybe do still have that. I think the club do care about the fans. I think you're important.
I think we do. I think we do, and even though I do want us to open ourselves up to better branding and market ourselves a bit better, I don't want us to necessarily lose that community side of it. I think the thing is, Burnley is a small town. There's only like 75,000 or whatever people that live in Burnley, so I think we always will have that community feel to it, because you don't have this immediate pool like you do in London of millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people like you do in certain cities around the country. So I don't think we'll ever lose that community side of it, because the club is so intrinsic to the community. Even where the club is, it's just like there's loads of terraced houses, which is just standard for Burnley. Every time you watch Burnley on the telly, shot of terraced houses. But that's because round Turf Moor, that's all it is. It's just terraced house. Not there's anything wrong with it. I've literally just moved from that area myself to where I am now. But it's just terraced house, football stadium, terraced house. And I wouldn't want us to move away from there either. What I would like us to do is buy the cricket field, which is behind the turf, and have all this space behind it and do more with that space. That's another thing I'd like to see us do. But I don't think, even though I want us to not even necessarily become a bigger club, but just be more marketable and have better branding and sort of like be seen by more people across the world. Because I don't feel like the club even sort of like acknowledges international fans. Like we have a guy that comes on the podcast sometimes, he's from Ireland, and he finds it extremely difficult to even buy a ticket because they won't send it to him or something like. I can't remember the exact ins and outs, but they won't post it to him. He won't. He has to come and get it on a certain day. And sometimes they won't even let him pick it up on match day. I think was one of the. It's just exactly. It's just one of these things. It's just ridiculous. I think it had to be like the day before or something like that. And it's just these little stupid things. It's like, again, that might not be exact. Just before I put that out, I don't want Burnley Football Club ring it tomorrow saying blah, 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 blah. Not that they will, but you know what I mean? But there's all these little things. And even like to buy a kit or something and get it sent out to you if you're a foreign fan, it's apparently like just loads of red tape. And that doesn't need to be there. But yeah, I do understand that the community feel of a football club is fantastic. And yeah, I don't want us to lose that. I would like, as you say, the away end is a bit of a throwback. And the Bob Lord stand, which is, if you're an away fan, is on your right. That's also a bit of a throwback. I'd like them to be, basically knocked down and rebuilt, if I'm being honest, and to make the stadium look a little bit better. But yeah, I wouldn't want us to lose that sort of like tight-knit stadium feel and tight-knit community feel either.
Could you imagine if we rebuilt the Bob Lord, though? If we rebuilt the Bob Lord, it'd be like Sheffield United's away end, wouldn't it? It'd be so steep because you couldn't back out onto the road. Yeah,
that's the problem with Bob Lord. Obviously, behind the Bob Lord stand, which is, as I said, the one on your right when you're in the away end, there's a main road behind it. And so the club are already as far back as they can go. They can't go any further back with that, because they go any further back, you're hovering over the pavement, which will obviously belong to the council or whatever. I'm not sure how that works, or the county council. So they'd have to sort of like create a stadium that overhangs the pavement, and that'd just be weird. So yeah, they'd have to make it sort of like similar size, but just more modern or whatever. Or as Dan says, just make it ridiculously steep, like Newcastle or Sheffield United or whatever. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they did with it.
When you're talking about not shipping out, there's a lot of red tape to get shirts. I mean, what's happened the last year? Everyone's using Amazon and all these eBay and all that, and they're managing to get pots and pans through the door. So why can't Burnley ship a shirt somewhere? It's unbelievable. It's like this thing's never gone on before.
They can't even access the points. People see points aren't even being used. They can't be used to spend on the club shop. People are asking week in, week out, when can we spend these points that we've accumulated on shirts in the club shop online? That's something the club haven't even dealt with, or it's something we'll have to look at. I mean, these are little problems that they could feed to you during the season and say, oh, well, we'll look at that in the off season and we'll have a look and we'll see where we go. But right now, while there's no bums on seats in a stadium, this is kind of their opportunity as an off season sort of aspect. During the week, sit down, sort out plans, get stuff going. You've got people like Doug Metcalf, who's our stadium manager. who's you only hear of whenever there's a development, which is every 10, 15 years, if that. You know, it's
earning his money then.
Yeah,
this
definitely.
new owner of yours,
Him and Matt Rick must be like that.
This new owner of yours, I hope he's got the sense to see who's below him to get rid of the rubbish. He's got, you know,
Yeah, well, the
CEO,
CEO's just left. You can clearly tell that was a difference of opinion, or he's just coming to get his new people in. But he has brought a few people in already. He brought 2 people with him. I don't know exactly what their roles were. I just remember there being 3 people on the photos when they were announced. And he brought in somebody that used to either be the CEO at Madison Square Gardens or was really high up at Madison Square Gardens. So that's like a good sort of like venue, if you will, to sort of like have all the brains, and he organised things there. But yeah, the CEO, who I didn't have any issue with really, but I did feel at the time that because the CEO was a lad called Neil Hart, and he was brought in from the community. Like he worked at the football club, became CEO of Burnley Football Club in the community, and then when our last CEO left, I think to go to the EFL, if I remember rightly, was it Dave Baldwin?
Yeah,
I can't
Dave
remember.
Baldwin went,
left to go to the EFL. They brought Neil in, and at the time that reeked of the cheap man for the job. I don't know if that was the case. That's just me outside looking in. And he seemed to do all right, to be fair. Every time, you know, he spoke well. Looking back now, there's a few things where he's clearly just sort of like said stuff to try and buy a bit of time rather than actually being truthful. His most recent interview was, we will be spending a lot of money in January. And if we don't, watch this space in the summer sort of vibe. And obviously we spent absolutely nothing in January. But yeah, so he's gone. And I would presume, he's gone. And I presume there would be a new one coming in. But they're looking for applicants. So I might stick my CV in, who knows?
Well, why not? Why not?
a lot worse than one of you two for the pair of you.
No, exactly.
More idea, it seems.
I mean, Shane's put a comment in there about obviously Arsenal and the Emirates saying that Arsenal slowly turned into a franchise instead of a club under Kroenke. Yeah, I mean, that's what's happened. And not just Arsenal, unfortunately. It's happened at a lot of clubs, isn't it, over the modern times. I guess it's modern football maybe, which is not something that I'm particularly overly excited about, if I'm honest. But anyway, it is what it is. And we, you know, football will always be here, I suppose, and we'll always be fans of it, I guess. But it's having to, you know, move with the times. I mean, what I do want to do is that we are going to obviously come back to tomorrow's game a little bit later on. I just wanted to do a couple of other little things first. First of all, just wanted to maybe look at a little bit of this. For those listening on Spotify, this is to do with previous meetings between the sides. For me, my memories of Burnley are all quite recent because my first trip to Turf Moor wasn't until 2008 in the FA Cup, because obviously you guys have been outside of the top flight for quite a number of years. In the FA Cup, we won 2-0 actually that particular day, which was nice. I know Melvin's memories maybe go back a little bit further than mine. What sort of you sort of remember it back from the 70s there with Burnley, or even further back?
70s. I think I might have mentioned this before. We played Burnley 3 times in 7 days, and in 2 of those matches, we had 3 players sent off. We played you in a league at Turf Moor. I think we drew 3-3. I think we had 1 player sent off. Then on the Saturday, we played you in the league. Got beat, I think 1-0. We had 2 players sent off. And then with the replay of the League Cup, we won 2-1, and we didn't have any players sent off, and we won. So happy days, as they say.
This goes to show, doesn't it? What happens when
also, what's funny enough, in the double year of 70-71, we played you at Turf Moor. I think we won 2-1. September it was, and the attendance then was just over 12,000, which is mental. 12,000 at Turf Moor. We then played you at Highbury near the end of the season, and we just scraped, and we were going for the title. We just scraped a 1-0 victory with Charlie George. And the difference of the crowd was because we were going for the league. I don't know how many, we got about 45,000 that game. But had we not been going for the league, the crowds then people don't realise how bad crowds were years ago. They really were bad. And then what else was there? There's a game in 19. Oh yeah, the one I never went to, but my father and uncle went to. The reason I support the Arsenal because my father and my uncle was in a very famous game, 1953, before my time, I might add, when we played you last game of the season at Highbury. beat you 3-2 to win the title on goal difference from Preston. And Preston and Burnley are a bit of rivals, aren't they? A little bit up there.
Yeah.
So it was about a double-edged sword, really.
Used to be.
Yeah, used to be. Yeah. All right. Yeah, double-edged sword. So we had to win. We just about won. But it wasn't on goal difference. It was on goal average. It used to be done on goal average years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like 0.8 of a, so finer margins then. So you could have scored 1 million goals, but if you let in just short of 1 million, the team that scored just 5 goals and only let in 2 won the league. That's how it was done years ago. So that was a very big game. And then really after that, there wasn't really, we played you in 75, just to say about crowds, and we were going through a very tough time then. We only won a double 4 years before that, Richard, remember? We had just over 16,000 at our home game in 1975. That's mad, isn't it? When you think what's going on now. It wasn't need for a 60,000 stadium then, was there? In most clubs. But as I say, that was, I think, round 75 was the last time we played Burnley for a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, 75, 76, they got relegated, and that was the last time until that FA Cup game in 2008 I mentioned just before. I mean, an interesting stat, actually, I don't know whether you two guys are aware of this, actually. The last 3 times that you've beaten us at Turf Moor in all competitions have all come in the month of December.
I didn't know this until I saw. I think you put a preview on your Twitter, didn't you? And I did see you say that, and I'm like, I didn't know that. That's a good one.
Yeah, no. 2008 was in the League Cup. You won 2-0. It was 1973 in the league. It was 2-1, and then 1967 in the league, all in December. They're the last 3 times that you've beaten us at Turf Moor. So, my hope is that now that this game's in March, that we're going to be safe. But I'm sure that one will come to an end at some point.
Obviously we didn't beat you at the Emirates. Well, obviously not at the Emirates. We didn't beat you in London or at Arsenal from 1974 until this season. So fingers crossed we can carry that on. Yeah. Yeah,
no, that's true. You hadn't beaten us there for a while. I mean, what are your sort of memories then of games against Arsenal? I mean, obviously, I know you did win at the Emirates, but of course, no fans could go to that game. Probably, fortunately, from our point of view. I mean, what sort of games stick out in your mind? I know, again, it's probably more recent times. I would imagine most of them, really.
For me, it's got to be that League Cup game. I know you've just mentioned it, but we beat Chelsea in the previous round on penalties, and then we had you in the next round. And I remember a weird memory that sticks out for me is I was wearing a Burnley shirt in the university library because I was at uni at the time. And a Burnley fan walked past me and went, "Oh, we got Arsenal next round, haven't we? Draw's just been made." I went, "Yeah, I've just seen it on my phone now." He's like, "Oh, there's no way we'll beat them. Like, they're so much better than Chelsea this year." And I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right, mate, to be honest." But obviously we went on, we beat you 2-0. Kevin McDonald with both goals, if I remember rightly. Didn't really do much else for us apart from that. He scored an equaliser at City, but he spent most of his time at 110 Club, which is a local working men's club. Long story, but he ended up leaving the game at half time to go and get pissed. But yeah, that's the only thing he really did in the Burnley shirt. But that's the main one that sticks out for me. And the first trip to the Emirates as well is one that sticks out for me because I never got a chance to go to Highbury because, like you say, we didn't play you much for years. So when we went to the Emirates, was in an FA Cup replay or an FA Cup 5th round tie. And was it Eduardo? Was that the player that was called? And he scored a goal. It just looked like a trademark normal volley. But I remember I checked my phone at coach at Wales and everyone was talking about this amazing Eduardo goal. I went, that good, bloody hell. And I checked and he'd used the outside of his foot and volleyed it and sliced it into the top of net. It was an insane goal. I remember thinking, yeah, fair play. But yeah, they're my main memories.
Yeah, that was the same season, actually. That FA Cup game was the same season as the League Cup game, just later on that same season.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We played you twice in that same season, both cups, which was so you won one and we won the other one, which was nice, I suppose. What about you, Dan? What sort of games stick in your mind from, obviously, the previous games against Arsenal?
I'm going to have to mention the ones that have kind of brought Burnley and Arsenal to a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, you've got to look at the Koscielny handball last-minute incident.
Last minute.
Sort of thing. Yeah. And then the last minute penalty incident at the Emirates. If anything, there's always been that little bit of give and take with Arsenal in the past couple of seasons where it's almost like, oh God, as long as they don't kind of turn us over or grab.
It's always been a case of these again. Here we go again, Arsenal again.
But to get Aubameyang wearing a Burnley shirt earlier on in the season and scoring for us were decent.
Yeah,
He hadn't scored for ages as well.
Oh,
Yeah, he's in my dream team. I was fuming.
yeah, well, he was in my dream team as well at the time. So yeah, I wasn't best pleased, but anyway, he's got a few points over the last few years, so I can't grumble too much, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I say it's all been sort of recent years, hasn't it? I mean, funny enough, my last away game for Arsenal was last season's game at Turf Moor, actually, the 0-0 draw, which wasn't the best game I've ever been to. I've got to be honest. But say
I don't know. We didn't win that game. I think Rodriguez rattled bar.
Yeah, from close range. Yeah, we were a bit fortunate. We didn't play particularly well that day, from what I remember, and we sort of hung on a little bit for a 0-0 draw, which we'd actually won our previous 4 league visits to Turf Moor as well. So that was ended that sort of run. But I say we don't tend to lose there very often. So we've only lost 3 times, I say, since 1966. So it is a good ground historically for us, but there don't seem to be often many goals in the Premier League. There hasn't been, apart from that one game, last game of the season a couple of years back when we won 3-1, when Aubameyang scored 2 to get the golden boot. But other than that, it tends to be 1-0 or 0-0 last year. There's not many goals usually, so which can be a bit frustrating. But I say, as Ben said before, I've always liked it. I thought it's a good away game. I've always really enjoyed it. So obviously, I hope that you guys stay in the Premier League for a long time, especially once we can go back and get back in the stadiums again, because it is always a good day out. And obviously, the cricket club behind the ground is a nice place to go as well, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good day. It is a good away day. So yeah, just a shame. Obviously, tomorrow. Normally, I would have been there. I mean, I don't often miss Burnley away, so it's just a shame, really. But I'm sure. Hopefully, next time.
You wouldn't have enjoyed it, Rich. Our grass is too long, just like last time, mate. So.
As already, well, maybe, yeah. We're not that good on. We can blame lots of things actually when we don't win games, but we've already got one put in for tomorrow now. Then, so thanks for that. The grass was too. We'll use that if we need to. But we'll see. I mean, what I did as well, I put together this little quiz just for a laugh. It's only a little laughy thing. We've kind of almost touched on a couple of them anyway, but it'll be fun anyway. Let me just find the graphic. I mean, usually we would look at players that play for both clubs and stuff, but we did do that last time. So I want to do something a little bit different. So first of all, I'm going to put a picture of these 2 guys up on the screen. Obviously, in relation to Burnley against Arsenal, what links these 2? For people watching on Spotify, it's Ashley Barnes and Graham Alexander.
I have no idea. I will be brutally honest with you. In between Burnley and Arsenal, have they both scored a penalty against you?
Not quite. Dan, you got any ideas?
Apart from them being absolutely outstanding in claret and blue, I haven't got a Scooby.
Okay, Melvin, you got any ideas? What links then 2 players to Burnley against Arsenal? No.
David Luiz doesn't like either of them.
Well, he probably doesn't. I don't know.
Not like anybody.
That will be true. The actual thing is that they are the only 2 Burnley players to score at Turf Moor against Arsenal in the Premier League.
Is that right?
Wow.
Graham Alexander scored a penalty in 2009 in 1-1 draw, and Ashley Barnes.
That's why I went with the penalty. As soon as I saw Graham Alexander, it's something to do with his penalty.
And obviously, Ashley Barnes scored in that 3-1 last game of the season. So they're the only 2 goals that Burnley have scored in the Premier League at Turf Moor against Arsenal. So that's what linked those 2. Someone who actually, you've kind of spoilt this one a little bit, Joe, with what you mentioned before. I was going to say, what's his connection to Arsenal? But you've gone over that already. Just people that don't know it, that is actually Kevin McDonald, of course, that we spoke about before. And as Joe already mentioned, of course, what he's famous for in this particular game is he scored those 2 goals in the League Cup game, which is actually the last time Burnley have beaten us at Turf Moor. So that was what his link was. And another one as well. You'll know who this is, I'm assuming. What's his link to Burnley against Arsenal as well?
Obviously, it's Vauxhall.
I'm thinking,
I'm not sure.
Most headed goals against Arsenal.
Well, I'm not sure if that would necessarily be true. I would have thought Ashley Barnes has probably got more of them. But it's did you got any ideas, Melvin? What Sam Vauxhall's particular thing against Arsenal is? He's actually the last player apart from Ashley Barnes to score for Burnley at the Emirates. He in the Premier League. He did score in it was a 2-1 2-1 victory
Yeah.
for Arsenal.
We went 1-0 up in that. I remember.
He did.
Now you mentioned it. Volksy scored it. Yeah.
He
I
did,
didn't
yeah.
go to that one. I watched it on I was working. I
And
watched it
since
on
then,
an elite, perfectly legal stream.
Since then, all the Burnley goals scored at Emirates by Burnley players have actually been scored by Ashley Barnes since that goal from Sandberg. He was the last player other than Ashley Barnes to score at the Emirates, a Burnley player. And another little one, which, again, we've sort of touched on a little bit, but there's a little bit more to it. What's his kind of significance in a Burnley Arsenal game? Obviously, he did score the own goal last season, as we mentioned, but it is something slightly connected to that.
Is it the one you've already mentioned?
Yeah,
he scored a couple of goals in the last game of the season to win the Golden Boot.
He did.
And also, he scored the first game of the season, scored the winner, first game of the season against Burnley, didn't he?
He did. That was last season. Yeah, he did. Yeah. But that's not really the point that I'm looking for.
He always hits the net for either side. He scores for either side in any game he's played against Burnley. He's always scored in one net or the other.
No, that's not true, because he didn't score in a 0-0 draw last season, because nobody did.
Well, true, didn't score, didn't he? Oh.
It's sort of, you're not far off. He's actually the only player, certainly in the Premier League. It might even be in the whole of football history, but he's the only player I'm aware of that's actually scored for Arsenal and Burnley in an Arsenal-Burnley fixture, because he scored 7 times for Arsenal, and obviously he scored once for Burnley as well last season. So just I say, obviously people on Spotify, that was Aubameyang, of course, with that. Now there's a couple of other little sort of statistical ones which you may or may not know, you guys. Obviously you'll know who this guy is. Again, for people on Spotify, this is Tommy Lawton, of course, famous English footballer from back in the day. He did actually play for both clubs. He started his career at Burnley and ended his career at Arsenal. The question is going to be, which of those 2 clubs did he score more goals for? Did he score more for Burnley or did he score more for Arsenal?
I'm saying Arsenal. He came to us at the end of his career, didn't he? Near the end of his career, obviously.
At the end of his career, he started his career at Burnley in 1930.
Yeah, and then he went. Did he go to Everton?
Yeah, he played most of his career at Everton. Yeah, he played for
exactly. So I reckon Arsenal.
I'd probably say Arsenal
in a short period of time.
A lot of players that started their career at Burnley have kind of just been shipped out, and similar with Lee Dixon. Had one game, told he wasn't good enough, and then became an Arsenal great. So
yeah. So you both going with Arsenal. What about you, Joe? What are you going with on that? Who do you think you scored the most?
I'll be honest, I ain't got a clue. So I'm going to go with Burnley just to be different and back the boys.
Okay, well, Tommy Lawton for Burnley, he played for Burnley 1935 to 1937. He played 25 games and scored 16 goals for Burnley. He came to Arsenal at the end of his career, which was 1953 to 1956. He played 38 games for Arsenal and he scored 15 goals. 15.
15.
So he scored
one more. He scored a lot more than that.
No, he scored 15. So yeah, he scored actually one more goal for Burnley. So that was really close.
That's weird.
Good start. That very good start.
Yeah, well, no, I've got some stats. Don't worry about that. There's another couple of players here. There's a couple of former Arsenal strikers who both played for Burnley briefly. Which one of these 2 scored the most goals for Burnley? Was it Andy Cole or Ian Wright?
It's got to be Ian Wright.
No, I'm going Andy Cole. I'm going to have to say Andy Cole scored more for Burnley than Ian Wright did. I think
maybe.
Just on the basis of Andy Cole's hat-trick at QPR.
I was just going to say he did get that hat-trick at QPR, but Wright didn't get that many goals in there. I think he got 4 or 5, Wright. I'm going to stick with Wright though. I don't want to just backtrack. I'm going to stick with him.
One each for you. So what about you, Melvin? Which one do you think scored the most goals?
I'm going for Cole. The QPR factory. I'm going for Cole. Not that I knew that before, but.
Okay. Well, Ian Wright played in 1999-2000 season. He played 15 games for Burnley, and Joe wasn't far off. He actually scored 4 goals. Andy Cole played 13 games, so a very similar amount of games in 2008 for Burnley, and he scored 6 goals. So it was Andy Cole that won that one. Obviously, that hat-trick must have been the one.
It really helped. I remember that. It was a big win. That. And just before you move on, I've actually got. It's weird that you mentioned it. I put it on for obvious reasons, but I've actually got an Ian Wright shirt on. Signed. Can you see it? Signed as well. We interviewed him on the podcast last year. I think Dan will remember it. But I got him. I got this shirt because obviously, as you've just seen, it's the shirt he played in. Bought some old Football League letters on YouTube on eBay. Got someone at the club shop to print it for me. She weren't supposed to do that, so I won't give any names out. and just took it to Ian and said, "Oh, this is the shirt you played in. Can you sign it?" And it's got a little signature at the back. I don't know if you've seen it. So yeah, I've been meaning to get it framed, but I just never have done. So now I just stick it on every time I'm on an Arsenal podcast.
No, why not? It's a lovely shirt, and that's a great little bit of memorabilia as well, there, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've got one more as well. I've got one more to finish this little section with, and these are two players who both played on loan for Burnley and did originally start their career at Arsenal. I don't know if you recognise these two.
I recognise Mark Randall.
Ramsdale, that Randall.
Mark Randall, yeah. He didn't really do much after he left us.
Yeah,
I don't think he did much of Burnley, to be fair.
No, I didn't.
Mark Randall's the one in the Burnley kit, and who's the one in the Arsenal kit? Do you know who that is?
Don't know. It looks like that. It looks like an older version of that kid from This Is England.
It's not Paul Reed, is it? Is it Reed?
No, it's close. It is Paul. It's Paul Shaw.
Ah, Paul Shaw. That's the one.
Paul Shaw. So Mark Randall and Paul Shaw. So they both played on loan for Burnley during their career. Paul Shaw played in 1995, and Mark Randall was during the 2008-2009 season. The question is, which one of those two made the most appearances for Burnley? They both played 13 times for Arsenal, actually, but which one of those two played more times for Burnley in their short loan periods?
I'm going to have to say the lad in the Arsenal top, surely.
Paul Shaw, okay.
Randall didn't play that much. Yeah, I was thinking that. I don't know the lad in the Arsenal top, Paul Shaw, but I remember Randall coming in, not really making much of an impact and spending the majority of his time on bench. So, yeah, I'll go for Paul Shaw.
Okay, Melvin.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going the opposite way, though. I'm just for hell's sake, I'm going the other way. I'm going Randall. Randall had a very strange running. The way he used to run with his arms, didn't he, Randall? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
strange.
Yeah, he was. He was a funny one. But yeah, I say they both played 13 times for Arsenal. Paul Shaw, in his loan in 1995, he played 9 times for Burnley and actually scored 4 goals in his 9 games. So actually, that's not a bad little turnaround, is it?
Fair return.
He scored 3 against QPR, didn't he?
Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know who the 4 goals were against. I haven't quite delved deep enough into it to find out. But he did score 4 in 9 appearances. So he played 9 times. Mark Randall, I say during the 2007-2008 season, he actually played in his loan spell. He played 10 times for Burnley. So he just sneaked that one by 1 appearance. But he didn't actually score. He didn't score at all for Burnley. He didn't score for Arsenal either, actually. Paul Shaw did score 2 goals in his 13 games for Arsenal. So yeah, they were all very close in the numbers there. So I thought I'd throw them in just for a little
He's definitely been one of those that have been thrown on last minute just to kill a few seconds, hasn't it? That's definitely got to be.
Hold the ball.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, Mark Randall had a sort of I suppose a career in the lower leagues a little bit, didn't he?
I just checking them when you were talking to see how he did, because I've never heard of him since. And yeah, he played for Chesterfield according to Wikipedia. Now he's at Lawn. I didn't rate him at the time too much. I remember thinking sort of like, oh, this lad's come from Arsenal, he's going to be really, really good. But yeah, he's obviously just career sort of petered out. Only 31 though, so that's when I was like, well, surely he's still playing. But yeah, he's playing for Lorna now apparently.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I say he came through the Arsenal academy. He made his debut for us, I think, about 2006, 2007. So he would have been really young then, probably a teenager, and another one of many at that particular time who didn't quite make it. And I think it must be hard for a young player, actually, when you're at a big club and maybe you don't quite make it and you get moved on. It must be quite hard to revive your career. And a lot of players have never really gone on and had much of a career after that, have they? And maybe Mark Randall is one of them, sort of messed around in the lower leagues for a while. And I mean, it's good that he's still playing, I suppose, but he never quite managed to. I think Paul Shaw had a slightly better career. I seem to remember him playing for Millwall and scoring a few goals, Paul Shaw, and I think he had maybe a better career, but I'm not really sure what happened to him either, really. But
you'd have known if he'd have done pretty well at Burnley, because Burnley have a kind of a habit of taking a player on loan and trying to snap him up for cheap afterwards. I mean, we did it with Alan Marn and Andy Gray from Sunderland, and we've done it with Michael Keane, Trippier, Ben Mee. We've done it with a fair few players in recent times. So obviously, Mark Randall didn't quite cut the mustard, really.
No, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. But I'll say, yeah, they both did start through the Arsenal academy and did play briefly for Burnley. So that was a little quiz there, which I thought was quite fun anyway. I don't know what you guys thought of it, but
I enjoyed it.
You did.
Yeah, we're good.
You did quite well. So I just thought something different because I say we've been through all the players before that have played for both clubs. There is actually 10 players that I found that have played for both Arsenal and Burnley. Obviously, Lee Dixon's probably the most famous one, isn't he, with what he won at Arsenal. Ian Wright as well, of course. Others as well. There was a goalkeeper, Andy Marriott as well. He didn't actually play in, but he came for our academy, played 15 games for Burnley. There was Danny Carbassione as well, the American.
Oh yeah, I've got him on Facebook. I don't know why. I don't know how that ever happened, but I've got him on Facebook. I must have just found him one day and added him when I was a kid.
Oh, fantastic! Well, he actually played 5 times for Burnley. He played 3 times for Arsenal. Scored 1 goal for Arsenal in the League Cup against Manchester City. Andy Cole, of course, who we've mentioned. Another one's Ray Hankin, who actually had a decent career for Burnley in the 70s. Scored 47 goals in 139 games and came to Arsenal and was absolutely dreadful. Only made 2 appearances, both in some cup or other. And I don't even know where he went. I think he played for Leeds as well, didn't he, Ray Hankin, at some stage? Before or after Arsenal. And there is one more actually played in the 1800s. His name's Henry Boyd. And actually for Arsenal, in 1894 to 1897, he played 49 games for Arsenal and scored 31 goals. So he actually had a decent goal scoring record for Arsenal. He didn't actually play in Burnley's first team, but he did come through there. Kind of however they used to have a youth system in them days. I don't know how it worked, but he came from Burnley and did say had a decent couple of years at Arsenal. So, but yeah, they're all the players that I've managed to find. Tommy Lawton, of course, as well, who we mentioned before, bookended his career with Burnley and Arsenal. So that was that really, which is quite good. Right, why don't we move on then? Going back up, obviously, to the game tomorrow, which is really important, and just have a look at this. So again, for those listening on Spotify, this is to do with the predicted lineups for the 2 teams. From what I've been seeing about Burnley, you don't tend to make a lot of changes to your starting 11. I guess that's because, as you said before, you don't have a particularly big squad. So, Joe, what are you kind of thinking for tomorrow? Do you think there'll be a lot of changes from the Leicester game, or you'd be pretty much the same? Because that was almost the same team that started the game before as well.
I'm pretty confident it'll be the exact same team. We don't have too many changes, even when we have a fully fit squad. At the minute, we don't have a fully fit squad. There are some rumours that Johan Berg Gudmundsson and Robbie Brady have been training this week. So if Johan Berg Gudmundsson passes a fitness test, I would think that Dyche would probably bring him in because at the minute Josh Brownell's playing right mid and he's not a right midfielder. We love Josh Brownell at Burnley. He's a fantastic central midfielder, but he's not a right midfielder and he's just a square peg in a round hole at the minute because we've got nothing else to do. So if JBG is fit, you might see him on the right, but I could probably name the team now. It'll be Poppy in the net, Taylor at left back, Tarkimi in the middle, Louts at right back, Dwight on the left, Corky and Westy in the middle with Brownell on the right or JBG and Chris Wood and Vidger up top. And now I can put my house on it being that exact team or just the right midfield changing.
What about Jay Rodriguez? Is he not fit?
He's had an injury, hasn't he, Dan? But he's been a little bit indifferent in terms of form as well, to be honest.
It's a bit of a tough one with Jay because he's kind of got an ongoing sort of like leg injury. You see him sort of every now and again, he'll have 1 or 2 games and then he's out because it's kind of flared up again. I don't know whether it's something that's ongoing that's at the moment, it's an injection, get you through a game because we're numbers sort of thing. But I agree with Joe. I think it's going to be a very similar lineup to Wednesday night. Is he going to change it or tweak it just because of the recent or our squad's tired sort of thing? I mean, we've got to look at the numbers and the fact it's Arsenal. We can't look at it and think, this is a game where we could play some of our youth players unless we're getting absolutely demolished and we stick them on for 10 minutes at the end if Dash remembers that he has a bench behind him. But we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. But I do agree with Joe. He's pretty much hit the nail on the head with that lineup.
And we've got Joe in the comments here. He said he was on a Burnley channel earlier in the week, and one of the questions was Pope or Leno. Who do we think's better? That's quite a good question, actually, because I actually really do rate Nick Pope. I think he's a good goalkeeper, and I think he could be England's number 1 at the Euros. Actually, he's certainly in with a big shout, isn't he? But then Leno having a good season as well. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Who do you think maybe the better goalkeeper out of Pope and Leno?
I think they're quite similar, to be honest. I think they're quite similar and quite different in the same way. I think they're quite similar in terms of ability. Like if you could football manager style top their ability up altogether. I think they'd both come out quite similar, but Pope's going to be better at crosses, and I think Leno's probably better at the ball with his feet and pinging him out. In terms of shot stopping, maybe just Leno. I think Pope can sometimes be a little bit, not necessarily suspect. I won't say he makes mistakes, but there's times where his shot stopping is probably not as good. I'd say Tom Eaton was a better shot stopper, for example.
Yeah.
Than Pope. But Pope won't have to make these saves because Pope comes and collects across. Like I seem to remember when we lost Heaton and he pulled off a brilliant save against Wolfsberger for Villa in a friendly and it went viral. And all Burnley fans are going, "Oh, Nick Pope would have never saved that." And my point on the Men on the Podcast were Nick Pope wouldn't have had to save it because it originally came in from a cross, which they couldn't defend. So then they had a shot and then Heaton pulled off a worldy save. Nick Pope would have just collected that cross and then that had been it. So I don't know. I think it's a tough question. I think they're both really good goalkeepers. I think Leno's probably having a better season, though. I'll probably put that out there. I don't think Pope's had a bad season, but I think Leno has done well this season, so that's probably what I'd go for.
Yeah, second again, same with Joe. I think, obviously, Pope has kept us in a lot of games. His shot-stopping ability has been quite key to us securing at least a point in many a game this season. You've got to look back at the Leicester game. Obviously, I think if he'd have stayed on his line, would we have conceded? Potentially not. But, every player...
it's a tough one, that one, isn't it, though? Because he's trying to come out and smother the cross.
Yeah,
that was a good goal from Iheanacho, wasn't it? It was a decent.
Yeah, I fall on that. I think I said it on Twitter at the time. I fall on that. I don't blame Pope. Yes, if Pope had stayed on his line, we wouldn't have conceded the goal. I do 100% agree with that. But with the pass from whoever it was, as a goalkeeper, you've got to try and narrow down the angle, haven't you? That's what you get taught to do from under forwards. So he's come out to try to narrow the angle, and then as soon as Iheanacho takes a touch, Pope would have been on him. But you don't even take a touch. The ball's come over and he's watched it and he's just smacked it. Nobody's expecting him to do that. So Burnley fans did give him a bit of grief.
It's strange, though, from that ball going over. It's weird, though, because when the ball came over, you see whoever it was in the centre of midfield at the time waiting to play the ball. It was like, right, come on, give me an option. And he just thought, right, well, I'll lump it forward to Iheanacho because there's no other chance on. And you kind of just see him throw his arms up as like, give me an option. And then it comes back and it's so frustrating because most times we concede, it's in a very similar way to how we would score against another side. It's either a ball over the top and we've kind of switched off, or it always seems to be like that, unless you turn up against, Man City, like, well, I don't even think we turn up. Team bus parks outside, but there's no bugger on it.
No, I mean, fair enough. Talking about the goalkeeper, just on the Man City game now. I mean, I think both of them goalkeepers are slightly better than your backup goalkeeper, judging by that game against Man City earlier in the season, where he had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he? Bless him, the poor fella. Was that his debut? His Premier League
Bailey Peacock Farrell.
Yeah, he certainly had a strange game that day. I mean, what would you say, Melvin, and between the two goalkeepers? Because they're both good goalkeepers, actually, aren't they? I
actually like Pope. I think he's very good.
Yeah.
When I ever watch him, I think he's very, very decent. And I think you're always a little bit critical of your own player sometimes, and I've been critical of Leno. So really, being an Arsenal goes against my judgment. But I like Pope a lot. I think he's slightly better, really. And when it comes to crosses, I mean, I do like a keeper to command the box, and Pope does it far better than Leno.
Yeah, it's the best thing that we have in coming to collect the crosses.
Yeah, I mean, luckily,
one thing Joe Hart never used to do, were it?
I mean, luckily from our point,
do anything.
From our point of view, we don't put in a lot of crosses like that, really, because we don't tend to have a big centre forward to get on the end of them anyway. So I don't think we'll necessarily play that way anyway tomorrow. I mean, what are you thinking then, Melvin, about the Arsenal team? Because literally, I can't even decide what it's going to be. I haven't really got a clue. We've got obviously a big Europa League game on Thursday night as well, so. Yeah. Going to be playing a part, I think, on the selection possibly.
Very much so. I think he'll play a very similar team to the other night because I think that wasn't our strongest team against Leicester, and I think he'll play a similar team tomorrow to play what he might think is a better team on Thursday. So I think obviously the goalie will play. I think he'll play Bellerin at right back. I think the rest of the defence, I think it'll be the same with Louise, Mari, and Tierney. I think he'll have Nel Neni in midfield with Xhaka just to keep it, a bit of strength. You need a bit of strength against Burnley, and they'll have Odegaard behind the front three. And I think I think he'll still play Willian. I think he'd play him definitely. I think he'd play Pepe. I think he might change Lacazette for Aubameyang, because I think as good as Lacazette holds the ball up, he'll get battered tomorrow if he does that against those two centre halves. They'll batter him. Where Aubameyang won't play that type of game. He'll play like slipping into space. So that's a little bit more what I would do than what the manager would do. But I think Arteta would probably play something similar to that, and he probably would play Lacazette thinking about it. But I would actually play Aubameyang tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'd play Aubameyang on the basis that he's got a great goal scoring record against Burnley. He's scored 7 times against Burnley in his Arsenal career.
And four.
Yeah. He's got 1 for Burnley as we said. So, he needs to make up for that as well, doesn't he, I guess? But yeah, I mean, I would. He seems to have had a lot of joy against the 2 Burnley centre halves, actually. So yeah, I would definitely put Aubameyang in for this game. I do feel as though the Thursday night's going to play a part. You'd imagine that Willian and Pepe will both play, because they did play well last week, and I wouldn't want to leave them out when they're suddenly played well together. So I would be tempted to stick them 2 in with Aubameyang, like you said, Odegaard just behind. And I think Thomas Partey should get a start in midfield, actually, because he's not played enough. He needs some minutes, and I think he'd be a good player against Burnley, because obviously Burnley are quite a physical challenge for us, and his physical presence in midfield could be quite important, I think, in this game. So I would be tempted to play him. And I would actually change the back 4. I'll still put Cedric at right back, because I thought that back 4 last week, that's our best back 4, I think.
See, I was going to mention that, because there's a lot of Arsenal fans actually said to myself that if Cedric starts, there's a good chance he'll keep McNeil quiet. If Bellerin starts, you've got a good chance of McNeil having a good solid game.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I agree with that.
McNeil's probably the biggest danger in your side from our point of view. So yeah, and the right back position when Bellerin's played there defensively has been an issue, especially when Pepe's playing on that side as well. That them two don't seem to have an understanding very well, both going forward and defensively. So that could be a problem. I personally would play Cedric, just because I think he hasn't played much games at right back, actually, because he had to cover for Tierney at left back for a while, and he played really well last week against Leicester. I would play him in this game. I'd play him in the Olympiacos game, and I'd play him against Tottenham as well, because I think he's a better right back. But particularly in this game, like you said, because Dwight McNeil is, for me, he's going to be the danger. Some of them crosses he puts in are just undefendable, and we're not the best at dealing with crosses at the best of times. So we need to stop the supply coming in. Obviously, Wood's strong in the air, isn't he? Like Ashley Barnes has caused us problems before. Anyway. So that's obviously Burnley's key. If we're going to get a result against us, is Dwight McNeil getting on the ball, getting crosses in, and Chris Wood maybe getting on the end of him, and Vidra maybe feeding off him if that's the 2 that play. So that's a problem for us. So yeah, I think that's a good point, and I would have played Cedric anyway, just because I think he's better at right back at this moment in time. I'm not as critical of Bellerin as many Arsenal fans. I actually don't mind him. I think he's been playing reasonably well, but certainly defensively, Cedric is better. And I think in this game in particular, that's going to be important, because the threat that Burnley do offer. So yeah, I think that's probably what I would do. But yeah, we'll see what happens. You can never tell with Arteta, because he's very difficult to read. You never know what team he's going to pick. In a way, you know what your team's going to be roughly. Maybe 1 or 2 players that you may be a little bit unsure of, but overall, every week you pretty much know what your team's going to be. We don't have that luxury, because Arteta just throws things in that you're not expecting. Last week I saw the team and I was shaking my head. No doubt tomorrow I'll see the team and I'll be shaking my head. There was something actually that I did want to, just before we come on to the final bit, the score prediction, there was something that I found out earlier which surprised me. Now, I was always under the impression that the early kickoffs, particularly on a Saturday, Arsenal didn't really favour. In the last 2 seasons, though, we've played 8 times on an early kickoff. That's either 12 o'clock or 12:30. We've actually won 4, drawn 2 and lost 2. So we don't actually have a bad record on the early kickoffs. And both of those 2 defeats did happen this season, though, recently against Aston Villa and Southampton in the FA Cup. Over the same period of time, Burnley have played 7 times the early kickoff, only won 1, drawn 2 and lost 4. So actually Burnley's record in the early kickoffs is a lot worse than ours. I wasn't actually aware of that, because I always was under the impression that we didn't particularly favour the early kickoffs. I mean, is that something that concerns you guys then with the early kickoff? Because your record hasn't been that great.
I don't know. It's not something I really read into, to be honest. It's just about the quality of the team that you're playing against most of the time, and whether you turn up or not, and whether tactically you're there. Maybe there's something mentally in it. Maybe they can't get the wake up in time or whatever. I'm not sure. But I know that we did tend to have a good record under the lights at Turf Moor in recent years. Say if we played somebody and the floodlights were on, for example, so a 70-45 kickoff on a Tuesday, we did tend to do quite well. So, yeah, genuinely, it's not something I'd read too much into, to be honest. But it is one of them kickoffs that if you lose, your entire day's ruined, and it's not just a bit of your day. Like if you lose at 8 o'clock, the 8 o'clock kickoff. Yeah, but it's rest at day. You're moping about. After I've had a sleep, I'm not so bad. But rest at day, you're going to be moping about. But if it's a late kickoff and it's 8 o'clock, I have a sleep half an hour after full time, and I'm right after that. But yeah, full day will be ruined tomorrow. It's my little boy's 3rd birthday party tomorrow as well, so I can't be moping about. So Burnley will have to do me a favour.
Has he had a good birthday?
Yeah, he's had a good birthday, thanks, mate. He's just downstairs with my niece, his cousin at the minute. That's why you could hear him trying to get in earlier. Tearaways when they were each other, honestly.
It's a great age, that, isn't it? It is a great age.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah. The only win that Burnley have had in the early kickoffs in the last 2 seasons was actually away at Southampton 2-1, which was last season. 3 times this season, you drew with Everton at home 1-1 and lost away at Leeds and away at Chelsea, which you probably would expect to lost them 2 games anyway, whatever time they kicked off, probably. I don't know, but it just so happens that they've been...
Shouldn't have lost that Leeds one. That referee screwed us over in that game. We should have drawn.
Yeah, massively. Massively.
1-0, yeah. So that's the sort of... and this season for Arsenal, we've played 4 this season, won 2 and lost 2. We've beaten Fulham and Leicester away and lost to Aston Villa and Southampton. So it could go 50-50 for us, which leads us nicely on to the final segment, which is, of course, where we always like to end. So, yeah, score prediction time, which is always quite interesting. Melvin, start with you then. What are you thinking about this game for us tomorrow? It's an important game, I think, for Arsenal, actually. I think we have to really try and win this.
I'm going for a 2-0 win.
Oh, optimistic. I like that.
Well, Burnley aren't playing very well at the moment, are they? In all fairness. They've got injuries, key players, and if we up our game, we should win. Big if. If's a very big word, but I think we should, make it 3 in a row if we can, ready for the European game. I really think we could do it 2-0. But as I say, after the first 5 minutes, I might have to change my mind.
Well, never said that the last 5 minutes last week wasn't great, and we still managed to turn it around and win. So maybe give it 10 minutes and see.
All right.
Dan, what are you thinking? Are you confident that you might be able to? Obviously, you haven't lost many at home lately, but you haven't won many either, have you? Would you get another draw? Might be on the cards.
I mean, we broke our duck of scoring in front of the cricket field end against Leicester. We've kind of had a bit of a thing with that. We've even contemplated changing our name to Bob Lord just because nothing's happening in that cricket field end at the moment. So it was good to finally break that duck. But yeah, I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I think our defensive display is going to be quite key in this game. And if we nick one, we nick one. But I think you're going to go 1-0 up and we'll potentially grab an equaliser in the 70th minute. So I'll be happy with a 1-1 and I'll take a point before kick-off anyway.
No, well, yeah, I would imagine so. What about you, Joe? What are you thinking? Do you think that you're confident that you can maybe beat us, possibly?
I think we can. Am I going to predict that? No. I'm thinking I'm on same as Dan. I was thinking 1-1, but I would be worried if Arsenal went 1-0 up. If I'm being honest, if Arsenal went 1-0 up, I could think the game could get away from us because Arsenal are the type of team where if you're chasing a game against them, they will punish you. If we go 1 up, it might finish 1-1, but that's the only way it'll do it. If, like I said, if Arsenal go 1 up, especially early on, I think they could end up running away with it. I'm thinking 1-1. I think if we're going to win it, it's going to be 1-0. It's not going to be a 3-2 like it was against Villa or something like that. If that's the only way we're going to win it. But yeah, I don't like the phrase sitting on the fence, but everyone seems to say you're sitting on the fence when you pick a draw. So I'm going to pick a draw. But I think a draw would be a good result for us. It'd be another point further away from Fulham, who are playing Liverpool. Now, they're playing Liverpool at Liverpool, so they're probably guaranteed 3 points now. They're playing Liverpool at Liverpool. a bad run or not, you should still expect Liverpool to beat Fulham at Anfield. It's a perfect chance for them to put that recent record at Anfield to bed. So you should think that they'd lose there. So I'd take a point. I'd bite your hand up for a point now. Move it to 7 points away from Fulham. That's obviously, even if they win 2 games, they're not going to go above us there. So I'd take a point tomorrow. Definitely, it gives us a bit more of a cushion. That.
Do you think that's the reason why our chairman's actually said that we're England's favourite underdog, because we've finally broken the champions of England?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think he just came in with not much else to sort of like say about the brand, really. But yeah, I think obviously that must have been in his memory in his mind when he said it. But yeah, it was good to see, and we've broken Liverpool, like you say. We've officially broken them, so that's good to see.
You sort of almost broke us, but actually your defeat when you beat us at the Emirates, actually, we kind of started to turn things around soon after that. So maybe that was the kick up.
Yeah, Man United did that last season. It can go one or two ways. You can sort of like say, right, a team like Arsenal shouldn't be losing to Burnley. I don't like slagging my own team off, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't. So you should sort of like take stock at a moment like that and just sort of like say, right, how do we stop this from happening again? Liverpool, whether they have or not, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like they have. If they have taken stock, they haven't done it very well. Man United, like when we beat them 2-0 at Old Trafford last season, they went on an unbelievable run after that. So they did a similar sort of thing. They took stock and they were like, right, we can't let this happen again. And yeah, we tend to be sort of like good luck Chuck. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, but we tend to be that guy, that team that sort of helps teams out to turn the season around.
Yeah, well, I'll say it seemed to maybe rejuvenate us a little bit after that. We sort of have improved since then. Johnny in the chat said heading ability is more crucial for Arsenal than pace. Mari and Louise will do that against Wood and Barnes. I mean, I don't think Barnes is going to be playing, but yeah, I mean, Wood is a dangerous player with a good delivery, isn't he? We know that he's caused problems for a lot of teams. And Lee there said 1-0 to Arsenal. I mean, in my preview video the other day, I did also predict 1-0 to Arsenal, just because I do think it's going to be a very tight game. You know, Burnley haven't been conceding a lot of goals at home recently. We're not exactly scoring a lot, although we playing away from home does tend to suit us better. We've played some of our better football, certainly since the turn of the year away from home. We struggle to score goals at home, struggle to break teams down. So I do feel as though it's maybe slightly in our favour. But the only thing that keeps nagging away in my head is the fact that to win 2 consecutive away games in the Premier League is really difficult. And we did have a good win last week against Leicester. So to win again away from home this soon, to me, would be it's difficult. You know, not many teams are doing that on a regular basis this season. I know away form does suit us, but I don't think we've won. I know we did win at Brighton and West Brom 2 in a row, didn't we, over Christmas? But I think that's the only time we've done it. So it's a big ask. But I do think we may just shade it. You know, as long as we pick, as long as Arteta picks a good team and doesn't think too much for the Europa League game and rest everybody, because then it's going to be a difficult game. Because, you know, it's always hard playing a team that's fighting for every point. You know, every single point for you guys is going to be massive, isn't it, for you in your fight against the bottom.
Massively.
So we know you're going to come out.
If you had to choose between a win tomorrow or a win against Olympiacos, which one would you prefer?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
Very good.
I'm here on that, mate. I'm here on that.
I mean, for me, if I'm honest, I only try to look at the next game that's coming up. I want to win that next game because that's more important. And at the moment, we need to win as many games in the league as we can to try to get our way into the top 6 or the top 7, whatever's going to be enough to get into Europe. And hopefully we can go a lot further in the Europa League as well. I mean, I want to be greedy and win both games, obviously. But I don't know. That's a tough one, actually. That is a tough. Melvin, what are you thinking? I'll pass it on to you for now. I'll have a little more think about it.
I'd rather win in the European game. That doesn't mean we're
well said, Melvin. Through. Well said, sir.
I've made a friend. No, I do genuinely. I do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want us to go through the Europa League. The good thing about that is it's 2 legs, isn't it? So we could get away with a draw. We win tomorrow, get a draw away in the away leg on Thursday, and then win the second leg at home. That'll do, wouldn't it? That'll be all right. We can cope with that.
Rich, you have to be pedantic, Rich. Bloody hell!
If it meant us beating you, but actually getting knocked out of over the 2 games against Olympiacos, then I guess I would probably take a defeat tomorrow and get through against Olympiacos if that was the choice.
Definitely take that. Definitely.
I suppose.
It means getting through.
Yeah, but I still think the league's important, though, Melbourne. I really do. I still think we can get in the top 6 because it's so tight. We're not that far off in points, and if we can win a lot of our remaining games, if we can win 7 or 8 games still in the league, which is possible, looking at the fixtures that we've got, then I think we've got a chance. So I don't really want to throw away any league game if we can. But I understand it's difficult to win the Europa League and also continue to win league games in between. It's going to be a tough schedule. So whether we can do it all, I'm probably not. We can't. I don't think our squad's good enough to do that. So, yeah, we might have to make sacrifices, unfortunately. But let's see. I mean, let's see how tomorrow. I want to just focus on one game at a time, and tomorrow is the next game. So I'm not going to think beyond that yet. Let's get tomorrow out of the way, and then I'll worry about Thursday. So Gary in the chat there, what's more difficult, losing 5 in a row at home or win 2 in a row on the road? Well, I mean, obviously, losing 5 in a row at home is quite difficult, but Liverpool have made it look easy. So I don't know. I mean, I think winning 2 games away from home in a row in the league is difficult. It is. But also we have done it once before. Let's hope that we can do it again. And Ben says there he thinks the Europa is a priority for Arsenal at the moment. And yes, it is. It is. But I don't want to just give up on the league because I still think we can make top 6. And there's no guarantee we're going to win the Europa because there's a lot of big teams in it, the hard competition. So, we need to try and focus on winning as many games as we can, whoever we're playing, whatever competition, and try and just finish the season strongly. And if we do that, then hopefully we can at least get European football next year, one way or the other. But I know you guys have got slightly other issues to be worried about, haven't you, rather than Europe? I mean, you was in Europe, wasn't you, a few years ago, and that kind of maybe didn't help your league form, did it? When you was in the
that's the reason why we had such a poor season, and we actually got knocked out against Olympiacos. I went to Athens. I enjoyed a really good few days in Athens on the beer, watching the football. Obviously, it seems like an absolute age away now. Burnley in Europe and actually going to games. But yeah, that's why our league form was so bad that year because, all right, we only played 6 European league games, but it was still Thursday, Sunday for what 12 weeks because it were home and away. So yeah, it really ruined our squad. We didn't recover from it until the new year, really. But once we turned that form around, we were in sensational form to avoid relegation. We were in the bottom 3 pretty much all the way until end of January, early February, and then we didn't look back after that once we moved out of it. But yeah, that's why our form was so bad that season, definitely.
I must say we were unlucky as well in that second leg against Olympiacos. We literally chucked everything but the kitchen sink, and we should have come away with it. A little similar sort of story to when we played Spurs in the Carling Cup replay, and we managed to bring that sort of back to life, just to be kicked to the curb again like common muck. But we. I think we give a decent account of ourselves, but I think there's a lot of our fan base that still kind of rest on that still seem to think that that's where we should be because we've still got that squad that got us there. So we should be doing that season in, season out. But that's not the case. At the end of the day, we was riding a wave of luck. You need luck at times in games, and I think we gave a decent account of ourselves. And as the English team next up against Olympiacos, you could maybe help us out and do them over. Why not? Show Socrates what he's missing.
Well, they knocked us out last year, actually, the previous round before. So we owe them one for that because they beat us at the Emirates in the second leg after we'd won away in the first leg. So we owe them one, actually. But yeah, obviously, Socrates is going to be well up for that game, isn't he? I would imagine he's looking forward to that to maybe prove a point to Arteta, who clearly didn't fancy him and wanted him out the door. So yeah, that could be interesting to see what happens there. Because I think he's a decent player actually, Socrates, and he did pretty well for Arsenal overall. So I'm sure he'll have a big point to prove. Joe in the chat there said that he would take a win tomorrow and take a loss in Europe because he has faith for the second leg. Yeah, I have faith for the second leg. Although last year, of course, that didn't quite work, did it? So, but I want to win every game. Let's just win every game, and then it doesn't matter, does it? Just win them all. That's what I say. And I'm sure you guys want to win every game as well, don't you? Between now and the end of the season.
100%.
I wish football was that simple, but unfortunately it isn't, is it? Well, thanks a lot for you guys for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, enjoy the game tomorrow. Nice early kickoff. Dan, if you give your, if you said you haven't started a YouTube channel yet. Is it like a blog that you do?
Not quite, but I have started a YouTube channel up. I was talking to Joe about it earlier. I'm going to try and get it up and running. Maybe in the new season, see what happens. But for the meantime, head over to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. It's all linked under Cricket Field End or the Cricket Field End, and see you over there.
Fantastic. And Joe as well, just give your channel another plug again, what you're doing over there.
Yeah, so we're Turfcast Podcast. We have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast, obviously, and we're on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with it, but I'm on there. And just to go back to the Ian Wright story I said earlier, to give an Arsenal fan an incentive to actually go over there, just listen to the Ian Wright interview we did last year. We sat down with Ian Wright, me, my co-host Simon, and the guys from the other Burnley podcast, No Nay Never, all sat down with him in Manchester and had a 45-minute chat with him. Really nice bloke, really enjoyed it. And he talks obviously mainly about his Burnley career, but he does mention some Arsenal stuff in there as well. So it might be something that Arsenal fans, because I'm sure many Arsenal fans don't know too much about Ian Wright's time in Burnley. So maybe you want to go and listen to that. But yeah, if you want a reason to get over there, that'd be a reason, but yeah, that's what we do.
No, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, just really pop over to there and check that out as well, because there's some good stuff on there. I've seen bits and pieces of it myself. Thanks to everyone in the chat as well tonight. Obviously, Ben and Joe from the Worldy podcast as well was in. Gary as well. Lee, thanks for you guys as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Melvin as well. Thank you very much. Where can people find you, Melvin, as well?
On this channel, obviously, from Dial Square to Where with Andrew, on with Ryan, Mr. Arsenal 89, and on Twitter, Melvin the Only Way is Arsenal Marks.
And yeah, so check Melvin out as well, because he's got some good stuff as well. He's always appearing on a lot of our channels as well that we do. So
Can't get rid of me.
And Joe there said he's going to watch the Ian Wright True Geordie podcast today, and they're going to watch yours, Joe. So yeah, that's good as well. Yeah, I've seen the Ian Wright one on the True Geordie actually. That's a good show. That I don't know if anybody's seen that. That's really good. I mean, Ian Wright's a great character, isn't he? Anyway, great personality. So yeah, he's always entertaining, isn't he? Whatever he does. So yeah, I mean, definitely pop over to Joe's channel, the Turfcast podcast, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we got there again. Please watch the Ian Wright interview if nothing else, because it's very good. So yeah, that's that. I say thanks to you guys for being on the show tonight. Good luck for the rest of the season. Obviously, not tomorrow, of course, but following that, I hope you get enough points to stay up and send Fulham down, because we don't really like Fulham. They shouldn't be in the Premier League. So let's hope that you guys survive and they don't. And although we've got to play them soon, so I better be careful, because I'll probably get a Fulham fan on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously good luck for the rest of the season. I hope you guys stay up, and we'll obviously meet again. Hopefully we can get fans back in next season, because it's a good away day at Turf Moor. I always enjoy that. So maybe nice to meet up with you guys as well. Maybe in the cricket club, it's always pretty lively.
100%.
So yeah, we can sort out for next season. But yeah, so yes, thanks for joining. Thanks for everyone for watching. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please give it a like. And say if you are listening on Spotify, thanks for tuning in as well there. It's a new thing I'm trying. A few people said they prefer listening to it that way, actually, on just the audio as well, which is good. So I thought I'd bring
Not surprised, I've got my face on it.
Well, that's the only downside to the Spotify side, really. But maybe we can just put your picture up instead, then that will kind of cover it, really, won't it?
I don't know how to work. Just before we go, really nice meeting you two guys. I mean that. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, you too.
Nice to see you all again.
Really
it's been great to have you guys on as well. And I say good luck for the rest of the season. So enjoy the game tomorrow as well. Shane as well was in the chat earlier. Yeah, good luck to Burnley for the season. Exactly. Yeah, we all agree with that, because they're a great little club, and obviously a historic club as well. Obviously, they played in the very first ever season of Football League, which is great. So that's a good thing as well. So yeah, so thanks everyone for watching. So don't forget to subscribe and like. And in the meantime, of course, ahead of this big game tomorrow morning, I'm doing a watch along. Actually, I'll be live at 12:15. I think I'm going to go live for the watch along. So stay tuned for that tomorrow if you can. And I'm doing a fan cam afterwards as well. Getting a bit of reaction after the game. Obviously, Melvin's going to be on, a couple of other guys as well. So loads coming up on the channel tomorrow as well on Match Day. So stay tuned for that. And of course, in the meantime, as we head towards, a big game tomorrow. Come on, you Gunners! Come on!